Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java Fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, September 29th, 2024, and you were in the Java Cafe this morning. Listen, as we do, we've been doing for at least the past 3.5 years, we acknowledge what I call affinity months, especially around health. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Prostate Cancer Awareness Month. This month on Monday, we just finished out the Mental Health Awareness Month. And so we're excited this morning to have someone to come speak with us about a subject that I realized in the past 4 years we have not really discussed in the Java Cafe. So I think it's most apropos for Lupus Awareness Month that we have a young woman that's going to come in, speak with us about her journey, how she's taken her journey and morphed that into action, especially for those that have lupus that are of color. We're also going to talk about and demystify the fact that lupus only impacts women. Brothers are dealing with lupus as well. We were actually intentional in trying to get a brother to chat with us that's dealing with lupus, but was not able to. And so we have someone that is well equipped that's going to share with us. She has her own podcast and following. And so we're honored all the way down. Almost said Glenn Burney, but she'll remind us. I think it's Glenn Arden. I'm going to bring in Raquel Dozier from Lupus in Color, and she could tell us where she's from in her introduction. But good morning, Raquel. Welcome to the Java Cafe. I'm so glad to have you here with us this morning. To really, in our pre-convo, I realized that we really have not curated a conversation around this subject. And so I'm glad that you're going to school us and educate us and also share your journey as well. And so say good morning to the Java family, and we'll jump right in just a couple of seconds.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Jimmy, for having me. I so appreciate it, especially during this Lupus Awareness Month.
Absolutely. And so and it's a little different from what I usually do. For those that may be jumping in real quick, I want them to get the information. And so if you could first tell us what lupus is, and then tell us a little bit of your story, how you were diagnosed, what was the process. I'm aware that a lot of people deal with different type of symptoms, and doctors early on were trying to figure out. And so please feel free, but can you define for us initially what lupus is?
Okay, so lupus is an autoimmune disease, which means that it is a chronic disease that attacks your body. Basically, what lupus really is, to be simple with it, the way I explain it to children is that my body is a superhero, and it thinks that everything in my body is a villain, and it attacks everything in my body. I have systemic lupus erythematosus, better known as lupus, and that is where your organs are involved, and it can really attack anything in your body. You also have things like cutaneous lupus and discoid lupus, which deals with your skin. And then you have CNS lupus, that can be something in your brain or your spine, nervous system lupus. And then you have neonatal lupus, where it can attack the baby. And once the baby is born, about 6 or 7 months later, the lupus is gone. So lupus is a wide disease that mimics so many different other diseases. But the basic of what lupus is that it is a disease that attacks portions of your body because your B cells are just overactive.
Okay. Thank you for the clarity. And I did not know that there were sort of subsets of lupus. And so we're learning, and it's similar to like HIV when you said about the neonatal, that it can attack the baby and then 6 or 7 months it resolves itself
Right.
as the child is developing its own immune system. And so you clarified for us it's an autoimmune
Yeah, absolutely.
disease. And so I love how you explained it, that on the very layman children's and even us some big kids, that your body believes it's a superhero and it's attacking it believes everything is a villain.
Absolutely.
And so let me ask you, and let's begin to talk about your journey. You mentioned that there were different illnesses that mimic the different types. Let's now update different types of lupus. And what was your journey? What did it start with? A constant fever? What is it? Was it a headache? Was it chronic pain and things? Tell us a little bit about your journey and how you were diagnosed.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm a former athlete,
Okay.
so I'm really in tune with my body. So
Yep.
it make a difference when you're dealing with a chronic illness. And for me, it started around 2000, 2002, and I started with a diagnosis of arthritis, rheumatoid
Okay.
arthritis.
Yep. Yep.
And the way it started was I could not extend my hands. I could not extend my arms. Like I couldn't reach up. I couldn't walk. My feet looked like sausages. I just was so drawn. I was fatigued. So I ended up going to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Oh, I don't see anything with any, issues, but I'm going to say that you have rheumatoid arthritis," which wasn't something that was surprising for me. Like I said, I was an athlete. I did the triple jump and 200, and I was always having issues.
Mhm.
And now that I look back, hindsight is 2020. I can really tell you when the lupus started to show, and we'll get into that in a minute.
Yep. Yep. Go ahead.
So it really just started in my hands and my feet. And when I went to the hand surgeon, he was like, "Well, you know what? Let's send you to a rheumatologist to be safe. Do you want to go to a rheumatologist that is young, or do you want to go to a rheumatologist that is old?" I was like, give me the old rheumatologist, because I know he's gonna tell me like it is, or we're gonna bat heads and then I'll have to move on. So went to the rheumatologist, and he was like, "Yeah, I don't really see anything that's really that bad. Let's put you on some steroids and let's see if that'll take it down." But then he said, "I'm just gonna warn you now. It might be something called lupus."
Okay.
And at that time, I didn't know what lupus was. I had heard of a college friend of mine that had passed away from lupus, but I was like, "So what do you mean? What is lupus? Is that cancer?" He was like, "No, it's not cancer." And he explained to me exactly what lupus was. And he said, "I'm just warning you. It could be that." That was in 2002. In 2004, I was a social worker in the city of Richmond, and I could not get out of a car. Like my body was paralyzed. When I finally was able to drive home and get out of the car, I could only crawl into my home.
Mhm.
And I said, "Well, maybe if I just take a shower, I'll feel better." Nope. Prostrate on the floor, had to call 911, call my husband, get me to the hospital. At that time, my intestines were swollen, and it had leaked 4 liters of fluid into my belly. I looked like I was maybe 9, 10 months pregnant, like an elephant. I was feeling it, but I'm just keep going,
Yep.
Originally from New York, it was, I'm moving.
Yep.
I'm moving
Keep
all the
it
time.
moving. Yep. Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So at that time, when I got to the hospital, they stated that if I had not gotten to the hospital, I would have died, because the amount of fluid that was in my belly from the swelling of my intestines. And because my intestines swole, they stated that it was a lupus issue, that lupus attacked my intestines and gave me the ascites. And that started my journey on to becoming a lupus warrior, or thriver is what I like to say.
Yes, ma'am.
And a lot of people say stress can really push lupus into manifestation. And I can tell you, we moved from New York in 2001. Had we not moved from New York, my husband would have perished in the Twin Towers. So we moved in 2001, got here.
Hold on. You not just
Yeah, I'm just not just going to skip over that part.
finish this part and then we'll go back to 2001.
Okay. So moved here in 2002, and then boom, everything started happening. And I'll tell you, I say that because in New York, we were going from 6 a.m. to
Yep.
2 a.m.
Yep.
I had a young son. He was 3 years old. I mean, we were moving. We were just going all the time. So let's go back to 2001.
2001.
So in 2001, my brother and my sister lived here in Richmond, Virginia. And we kind of called them in January or so. What are you guys doing? We were supposed to come down here to, visit and everything. And we were having a blizzard. Go figure. It's January.
Yeah.
And my brother was like, oh, no, I'm on the deck cooking out. It's like 60, 65 degrees here. My husband and I were like, okay, we need to visit. We need to go. And I'm telling you this because it's leading up to something.
Yep.
So we come and we visit several times. On our third visit or so, we're just kind of hanging out maybe in May or so. And we're looking around. We're like, wow, these houses are beautiful. We were looking for a house in New York. We had started our family. So we were looking. We said, well, let's look at the houses around here. Started looking, was like, what? You can get this for that much? Okay. Maybe we should rethink this. That's exactly what we said. Maybe we should just rethink this. On the way home, we saw a sign that said, good credit, bad credit, no problem. Come on in and get you a mortgage. We looked at each other. We were like,
let's go with it.
Let's call. Let's see what happens. Before we even got home, we got the loan for the house. We weren't planning on moving to Virginia, but the plan was thwarted and it was created for us.
Yep.
And by the time we got home, the guy was calling us saying, oh, you guys have this amount of money. Go ahead and get you a house. And we were like, wait a minute, hold on. Because we were both working in New York and we knew one of us would have to stop working here in Richmond. And boom, we got a house. Went through all the things, went through all the house looking, finally found a house, decided we're going to move. Myself in July and my husband on September 11th. That was his date. And we were like, okay. The plan went forth. Everything went well. My son and I moved down here. And of course, before we were moving, my husband was offered a position over at the Twin Towers. And he was going to originally take it. Our plan was for him to take it and travel back and forth on the weekends until we could bank some money. You know how we do. And then when he's finished, he'll just come here and then he'll work here. For some reason, he was like, no, I don't want to do that. That's too much. I don't want to be away from you and my son that long. Mm-hmm. And on 9/11, he was turning his keys in and was supposed to go to turn them in at the Twin Towers. But he was late. We were on the phone with each other when the second plane hit. He had to walk from downtown. And I don't know how many people are familiar with, New York and everything like that, but he had to walk from 50-something street to Harlem.
On the east or west, on the west side. He was on the west side.
He was downtown.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. 52nd Street, 40, all that area downtown. And he had to walk to 155th.
I was going to say Harlem starts in the hundreds.
Harlem.
Yeah.
And, I say all this to say that sometimes we don't know what the plan is for us. And even with life, there are some issues that will change the path that you have. There are so many things that have happened in 2001 that created a path for me to be able to deal with what I'm dealing with now,
Because had you not had the stress, when you talked about the diagnosis, you could have been, and I don't know if lupus has stages, but had this not happened, the transition, the bewilderment of, oh my God, had you not moved or you were late that day. And so you could have stayed there, went into 2006, 2007. And instead of it attacking your intestines, it could have been attacking your brain or your spine.
Yeah, it could have been attacking anything. And I would have been a widow with a 3-year-old child.
Yes. Okay, Raquel. So you're talking to a backslidden preacher. And there's a whole bunch of church mothers and everybody. Let me just go in the
That's
comments
right.
real quick. Here they go.
I'm a preacher's
Jesus, look at
kid.
God. Look, so you say,
Exactly.
no, Jesus, look at God's plan. God,
Exactly.
where else? Well, okay, so yeah, they what you call it? They in here.
Exactly. And you know, I'm a preacher's kid, so I get it. God is going to place you where you're supposed to be. So if you don't, a lot of times we say, "Oh, this didn't happen. Oh, God is not working for me." But the reality is you got to see where God is placing things in front of you for you to follow. And sometimes you can't question that. You have to just go and move and do what you have to do. And that's what we ended up doing. And it was a lifesaver, not only for my husband, but for me, because I was able to get the care that I needed as I raised a 3-year-old child and moving to a new city. And now I told you that I can see where it kind of started.
Yep.
When I was younger, I would get really sick. I was a 7-month baby. You know, I've been fighting.
You're a preemie?
Yeah, I was a preemie. So I've been fighting for a long time, for a long, long time. And I lost my mother at a very young age. So there are so many things in your life that you don't realize that people call trauma, but in reality, it's really a triumphant removal from things that you need to get done in order to live the life that you're meant to live. So, I mean,
we about to jump into a real Sunday Java. Real quick. Oh my! Listen, we're going to transition. Folks are in here, moved by faith. Amen. To God be the glory. Thanking God for obedience, and it'll all make sense later. Listen, folks, we're going to take a quick break so we can transition because we'll be up out of here real quick and on a whole different level and different place and tracks and falling out up under the chair and whatnot. We're going to take a quick break, and Raquel, we're going to come right back with you and really hear about how you've taken your story, which is amazing, and how you've transitioned it into Lupus in Color. And folks, we're going to be right back with you in 2 seconds. Actually, in about 3 seconds. Let me get this thing all queued up here. Updated the computer yesterday, and of course, everything is not doing what it's supposed to do. And so what we'll do is, instead of a commercial break, we'll let you know that we're going to continue the lupus conversation tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Asaria Daniels, who has a master's in public health and also a public health strategist, will be with us at 7 p.m. for a special Java After Dark, Your Healthy Java, as we continue the conversation for Lupus Month. And also tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. is where past 2 days we can call it Your Healthy Java. Pops, who may be in the room, Anthony Davis, is going to come speak with us from the theme A Stroke of Genius, in reference to him having that mini stroke a couple of months ago. As I've been saying, if you follow him on social media, you can follow his path to healing. And he's going to talk about also not burning the candle at both ends, similar to what our guest Raquel said. That mini stroke he alluded to. And you also mentioned that stress sometimes can induce the enough of symptoms that you get the diagnosis. And so you've taken your stress, you've taken your diagnosis, and it's transitioned to this thing that we're calling lupus in color. Give us that. I want to hear that.
Look, I'm gonna tell you. I live in Glen Allen, Virginia, which is a suburb of Richmond, Virginia. So I'm prefacing that for a reason, because when I was diagnosed, even with rheumatoid arthritis in 2002, I didn't see anybody like me.
I knew that's where you were going to go. Yep.
I didn't see anybody that looked like me, that had my type of story, that understood what I was going through, that understood maybe I'm going to hit some biases as I deal with this health condition, that understood that I'm going to hit some racism in a Confederate state that as I deal with this lupus diagnosis. So in 2004, when I was diagnosed with lupus, I decided that I needed to be educated. I needed to be inspired. I needed to be encouraged. I needed to be empowered. So I created Lupus in Color. And I didn't want anyone else to feel as lost as I did. Because when you look at the facts, lupus attacks 60% of the people who have lupus are Black women. That's not to say
60%.
60%. And that's not to say that it's just a Black woman disease. But if that's your stats, then how come I don't see anybody that looks like me at any of the meetings? How come I can go into a doctor's office and be the only beautiful black brown person in the room? I found a problem with that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
I said I needed to create something that would give women of color an opportunity to see someone like them, to be heard and understood and seen in the lupus arena. And that's how Lupus in Color came about. I was actually in the hospital when I created Lupus in Color. And I always say out of necessity comes creativity.
Yes.
And I needed it so bad that I did not want anyone else to need that ever again. And if they did need it, I wanted to fulfill that need. And that's how Lupus in Color became about. Now, Lupus in Color, we started out as a local group here in Henrico, Virginia, and we have grown to an international organization where we're talking to people all over the world about lupus, and we're giving advocacy and awareness to people all over the world about lupus. And I'm grateful for that. It's not what I thought it would become, but here I am using what God has told me to use to make a difference in someone else's life. And a lot of people say that, oh, well, God never gives you anything that you can't handle. I don't know if God really gave this to me more than my genes gave it to me, but I know that I have a purpose.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I know that
Thank you for being real.
Yeah, I'm just being real. And like I said, I'm a preacher's kid, so I get it. I get it. I get that we use the scripture in a certain way, but I'm gonna use it in my way. And I know that God has a purpose for me. And I've always been a social worker, a teacher, a counselor. And when I was deemed unable to work, I had to find another way to fill that void that God had already given me to do. So I use that in what I'm doing today with Lupus in Color. And I know this is my purpose, and I'm not ashamed to talk about it. I'm not afraid to tell people about it. And matter of fact, I'll put you on the carpet for it because you need to know about it, because it happens more and more in our communities than we allow it to be known.
So on that point, I stopped here for a reason. I see three kings, four, and the guy in the back, but there are three kings. I believe this is you.
Yes, it is.
And let's have the convo. We understand that 60% are black women of those, and let's just name of those that are diagnosed. Toward the end, we're going to put you on full screen, and you're going to tell the people why they need to pay attention to their bodies and what type of things they need to look for, and they need to get in and talk to someone. We're going to do that before we go. But let's address a misnomer. Lupus, does it just attack women? And let's just hold space for our sister that named this. And it's not just with lupus and other. Okay, where Lord Jesus, this mouse better not hit that. Okay, there we go. Let's just hold space for Felicia, because I understand a lot in that statement. Why we always I believe she on attack. That 60% resonated with her. You know what I mean? Of black women. And so can our brothers dealing with lupus?
Well, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So 90% of lupus warriors are women, but there's the 10% that are men and children. And we have to realize that out of that 10%, maybe 8% are black men. We have to realize this.
So Miss Teresa, I'm sorry, is saying Tony Braxton and Nick Cannon, who's a black man, have been two of the most vocal advocates for lupus, and they share every inch of their journey, good days and bad. So Nick Cannon right there. I just wanted to, while we're talking about men.
Absolutely. You have Nick Cannon, you have Seal, who was a Trick Daddy, I think it was. There are men out here that are suffering with lupus. And usually men with lupus have lupus nephritis, which is lupus of your kidneys. So that means that the lupus is attacking your kidneys. That's what Nick Cannon has. It's still considered SLE. But when you talked about stages the other day, that's where the stages come in as far as how bad your kidneys are performing. So there are stages. There's 6 stages for lupus nephritis. And you can go from stage 1 to stage 6. So that's where I wanted to clarify that for you. That's where the stages come in. But men who are suffering with lupus suffer just as bad as women, and they go through just as much. The difference is, and it's with anything in life, Black men are not seen, heard, or understood when they're having an issue. They're often gaslighted. They're often told it's just something else. And since lupus can mimic so many different things because it can attack so many different areas of your body, it's hard for them to get a good diagnosis and be heard and understood and believed. So men have a rough time getting their diagnosis. And when they do, it's an even harder time to find other men who are willing to speak up about their diagnosis.
And let's name the mental health impact. And let's say, especially the demographic that I am, a Black man, because of the perception of many that this is a woman's disease. Some of our brothers, there's the general reaction. And then let's come on a little bit in it. Oh, damn, how the hell did I wind up? Because they're not educated. Right. And so that brings another, which leads to stress with Jesus God. Okay.
It leads to all these different things. And mental health is one of a major thing, not only just for Black men, it's for everybody who has lupus, because you are dealing with a chronic illness that is not well known. Even rheumatologists aren't very well versed in what lupus can do to your body. So we're fighting so many different areas, whereas you're fighting with the doctors to get unbiased care. Let me say that again. You are fighting with the doctor to get unbiased care. And that unbiased care doesn't often come. Even if you have a good doctor, I have a great doctor, but there are some biases there that he doesn't understand. There are some biases that are given to them even as they're practicing being a doctor. All the systemic racism that has been brought into that healthcare system affects us as we deal with lupus. So it's so many different layers of what lupus can do mentally to you, physically, emotionally, and socially.
Let's Raquel get into some of the resources. I've put the website in the comments, and if you have an ability, I know you linked, but if you can see comments, Chris Lacey's put some interesting link in here, and we want to make sure folks don't click it. But I want to.
Yeah, you can move that.
All right. I want folks to know that we have the link in the comments. And so not only is this local, not only is this led by a Black woman who has lived this, it is international. And so you can go and click right there in the comments and hyperlink if you know someone, and especially if you know some brothers that may have been recently diagnosed. You want to definitely share this information with them as well. And so
if you know some people that have lupus that are men, I do have contacts with some male lupus warriors and people who are very big in getting lupus around about men. And I'll actually put him on to you as well, Jimmy. So
please, I would love to bring, because we when we were planning out this segment, we wanted to have a man to really demystify that fact, because there may be some brothers right now that are dealing with that. And let's also, can I back up a little bit? And let's also name, and this may be the opportunity for you to educate people about symptoms and how if they think that they may have it, what they need to be saying to their doctor. We know oftentimes Black women rushed off, oh, this is this, oh, are you eating right? Or how much salt, and they should ask those questions. But a lot of times our women are not treated, as you said, due to the system and their type of training, capital system, the 15-minute appointment, and you really need 45 minutes to talk about your symptom. So let's start to talk about how, if someone is having some type of symptoms, taking that first step to go see a rheumatologist or a doctor, what should someone do from point A to diagnosis if they have it? And then we know what the next step is after diagnosis. Go to lupusincolor.com. In all seriousness, stay in contact with their rheumatologist, follow the plan and things like that. So let's go from A to Z.
So look, if you're having some symptoms, some of the symptoms of lupus can range from fatigue to joint pain to fevers to a malarash. So you might be able to see a little bit of rash on my face where it's a butterfly, call it a butterfly rash because it comes up on your face, here on your cheeks, on your forehead and down your nose. And if you're having those symptoms, the first thing I need you to do is to really start to journal when you're having those symptoms. If you're journaling having those symptoms, when you're ready to go to the doctor to tell him, you'll have it all in place and you won't have to guess or remember what's going on. So make sure that you're taking time to journal what's going on in your body. Journal what you're eating, journal how it makes you feel, journal how it changed your body. We know that there is no cure for lupus, but we do know that any type of thing that you put in your mouth, on your body, in your mind is going to affect how lupus affects you. So if you feel that you're having those symptoms, make sure you're journaling first. And then second, make an appointment with your doctor. And you bring that journal in with you and you say, this is what's been going on in my body. And I have looked all over and I've searched all over and I have all of these symptoms and I need to get help to see what's going on. From there, whether you have a good doctor or a bad doctor, if they say, no, I don't feel like you have this, I think you're just going overboard, because they're going to gaslight you. I don't feel that you have this, I think you're just going overboard. This is the one question that you have to ask that will stop every doctor in his or her track. And that is, what is your differential diagnosis for you telling me that I don't have lupus or telling me that I do have lupus?
Wait, hold on. I want to make sure I get this one. I've been trying to be good and keep you on camera and type it.
Right.
Wait a minute. What is your differential?
What is your differential diagnosis? That is asking the doctor in his jargon. See, they want, if they're going to play the game, you got to outplay them. What is your differential diagnosis? Makes them tell you what they have done to rule out.
Well, I was just about to say, and what have you done to rule out? Come here.
So instead of us, because someone tells you that you're bugging, it's all in your head, you're gonna get angry. So no, let's not get angry. Let's make sure he understands exactly that we know what he's doing or she is doing, and say, what is your differential diagnosis? I just want to know. I need you to list for me what you did to rule out everything. Have you checked? So when they check for lupus, there is no specific test for lupus.
There is no test. So we do want to make that plain. There is no test.
There is no specific test for lupus. They test your ANA and DSANA and all this junk garbage. They test all that, but then they have to go to your family history. Does anyone else in your history have autoimmune? And then there's a 11 list criteria which shows you different symptoms like fatigue, high fever, malar rash, things of that nature that they have to go through in order to get to your diagnosis. Now, it's important for me to say this.
Yes.
It can take up to 2 to 5 years to get a firm diagnosis of lupus, because lupus is so misunderstood and it's not talked about enough, even though it's a more prevalent disease than HIV, cancer, and AIDS, and everything else out there. It's a very prevalent disease. 5 million people in the world have lupus. And it can take you from 2 to 5 years to get the diagnosis, and then it will take you 2 to 5 years to get an appropriate treatment. So my goal has always been to educate, inspire, encourage, and empower. And in educating, you have to be your best advocate. And the only way that you can be your best advocate is if you're taking control of your life and noting what's going on in your body. Once you're able to note everything that's going on in your body, you're going into the doctor's office armed with information that they cannot deny. And when you hit them with that specific jargon, they know that, okay, she or he is really ready to advocate for themselves. Don't let them push you off and gaslight you. It's common, especially in the Black community, to be gaslit because y'all know.
Come on.
we already have issues with the medical field in the first place. Let's talk about Tuskegee. Let's talk about um, all these different things that they have done to us. So we don't trust the medical field anyway. We have to get out of that, number one.
Which is not our fault.
It's not our fault. Nope, nobody's saying it's our fault. But the reality is that we have to get over that hump in order to get the appropriate
right.
care for ourselves.
That's right.
And we can't go into the doctors talking about Henrietta Lacks and Tuskegee Airmen. And, we can't go in there talking about that because we need them to help us.
Now.
And there's a time and place for everything. When you are sick, it's not the time to be fearful. It's the time to take action for your life. And I know that sounds like something that's easy to be done. It's not easy. It's not easy to advocate for yourself when you're scared and you have this new chronic illness.
Yes, ma'am.
But it is something that is necessary that you get back into a frame of what can I do to help myself? And the first thing you have to do is to journal those symptoms and make sure that you go in there armed with the information that has been happening in your life. I know I went off on a tangent. I'm sorry.
No. Oh, please. I tangent. Please. I tangent all the time. And I don't even know if that's a verb. I tangent all the time.
I'm going to use it from now on.
No, so this is the purpose of this platform, is to learn. And I didn't know. I didn't know about the sub-diagnosis. I didn't know that there were stages with the what is it with the liver?
Lupus nephritis. Mm-hmm.
Yes. It is. So one, we just have to name that we're grateful for you as a Black woman. We're not going to let the fact go of that testimony, and we'll figure out that because I know the mothers were in here getting ready to fall out. With your husband and everything, my old bishop used to teach me, don't despise anything that you've been through, because that is what's gotten you to the point to where you are today. Absolutely. You, ma'am, now through your experience have an international influence on policy, on programming, at some point, maybe on pharmacology when it comes to because I'm sure there are clinical trials and things. And let's just also name that it's important for folks like us to participate in clinical trials, because if they come out with a med for lupus and we didn't have enough Black women.
Well, I can talk to that.
Come on.
I can talk to that. Look, and I can't name the medicine right now. But it took 50 years to get a medication specific to lupus. Everything that was being used was off brand. So we were using antimalarials, steroids, and things of that nature. It took 50 years.
You said 50 or 15?
50. 50 years to get a specific drug to a targeted drug to help lupus patients. Once that came out, now there are other drugs that are available to assist. But I also want to talk about when I got on the first drug after 50 years, I was a trial because the doctor had to tell me that there was not enough Black people in the trial to know if this would work. So I became the trial. Everybody else who was a Black woman became the trial. And, my husband was like, oh, you're going to be a guinea pig? I'd rather be a guinea pig and get help and help someone later on than not help at all. Because what's my alternative? At that point, my alternative was don't take this medicine and have the risk of lupus eating me alive. So I made the choice. I had to consciously make the choice to remove the veil over my head of being a guinea pig and actually sit and see what the benefits minus the issues would be for me. And in doing that, I have been the trial for Black women for this particular medication. And it's a big problem because so many of us are also stuck into the thing where, oh, you should just go holistic and pharmaceutical companies are just taking your money, and they go on with this whole thing. And I tell people all the time, holistic does not mean the removal of
Of
pharmaceuticals.
medicine.
It says holistic is the whole
Oh,
treatment of the individual, mind, body, and soul. So when someone comes to me, I saw that comment that you were commenting to. There'll be so many people that are preying on lupus and those that have lupus because we're so desperate for a cure. And you can't be misled. You can go holistic and still have pharmaceutical care that keeps you alive. The medicine I've been on has been keeping me alive for almost 20 years. There is no way that I would allow someone that doesn't have a degree in medicine to tell me to just take supplements or just take this.
come.
You're
Because
not.
in our community, and if you don't mind, some Letitia Reed over on Instagram, she said Roxy is the truth. So I guess that's your nickname, your nickname rather. And so because I just realized outside of my Sunday jobbers in 4 years, I don't think anybody's had me up here rocking because you.
Well, I'm glad because that's the point, because people don't know. People don't know, they don't understand. And when you make it plain and clear for them, there's no denying it. So it's important for us to, I can't tell you to go into a clinical trial, but I will tell you it is our duty to help one another. And we have to do things that not only help ourselves, but help others. I tell people a lot of times that having lupus for me now is more of a blessing than it is a curse. And I say that because number one, I've matured in my lupus journey, and I don't see myself as a sufferer. I see myself as a thriver because I'm
And a
every
warrior.
heartbeat. Yes, every heartbeat, every breath that I take is a miracle. It's been that way since I was in the womb. So I'm not suffering from anything. I am defeating lupus every single day. And for those that think that you need to be looking for the cure all the time, we didn't get lupus overnight. The cure is not going to come overnight. And honestly, you are cured every single day because you heal every single day that you are on this lupus journey. Anytime that you're up and you overcome something that lupus has done for you, you are healed. And the healing is not always in the cure. And we need to be sure that we change our mindset so we can respond differently to the chronic illness that we have.
I want to raise Betty's point, who's saying, yep, it's been 29 years for me. And then Letitia, who's still over on Instagram. And shout out to everybody that's listening on Twitter as well. It is the balance, and we do what we need to do to stay in the game of life. And
Absolutely.
that is very, very real. Oh my God, Raquel.
Absolutely. You can't just survive. You got to thrive.
You gotta thrive. You said, because you're not a lupus victim. You're a
No.
lupus warrior. You're a lupus thriver.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's not to say that you can't be angry, upset, sad, and
Have
pissed off.
days, have
about
days
having
to be
lupus.
human. Yes, yes. Give that balance.
Yeah, there are times where I'm throwing a fit like a 2-year-old child on the floor, and my husband's looking at me like, "Yo, dude, okay, you done? Are you done? Okay, now what can we do to get this started?" And that brings me to the point of support. You have to make sure that you're out there finding that support, finding people that can understand what you're going through, and talking to them about what you're going through, so that you know that you're not alone in this fight.
I wanted to just raise Mother Sharon is in here looking out for you. She said, I pray that you don't continue to look at yourself as a guinea pig. I want to raise Betty's point. You are sister and brother of Rupert. I'm not sure. That may be a typo. A helper who was a warrior fighter. And so, Sister Sharon, we just use that as a term, guinea pig. But I hope you heard the clarity where she said for 20 years it's kept her alive. And now you have become sort of some level of Henrietta in the lupus medicine, because, and I wanted to make sure, because we got on that point, and at my health fair, so I'm in partnership with Johnson & Johnson and Bayer.
Awesome.
And they came and talked about the perception of big pharma, and the woman said, listen, no, we are here to help. I know what the perception is, and we've messed up, in the industry, but Black and brown people participating in clinical trials
is nil to none.
It
It really is. And when you think about it, why would you not participate? Number one, to help yourself, and number two, to help someone else. Because guess what? You wouldn't be here if someone didn't go through what they
The
did. If
clinical trial.
Henrietta Lacks didn't go through what she went through for us to have the opportunity to have these clinical trials. And I know guinea pig is a term that's kind of busted, but that's how people feel. And I'm about being
That's
real.
real. Yep.
And that's how people feel. And there's nothing wrong with feeling like that. Go through that feeling and then get your behind up and go on and get in that clinical trial, because you need the help and you need to be well. There's no need to suffer in silence. As Black men and women, we don't have to suffer in silence. There are people out here.
Amen. Thank you.
Yes, because there are people out here looking to help us overcome these issues. And I remember somebody said earlier, why are we always attacked? Look, I'm not a scientist, but I'll say it like this. I think that our environment helps these diseases to come into our body. Our melanin helps these diseases to come into our body. What we were fed helps all these
exacerbated some of the activations of this crap. Come.
Absolutely. Now, that's not to say that if you eat well, if you work out, if you take care of your mental health and you have lupus, you're not going to have a flare. That's completely untrue. Those are not cures. Those are just coping skills, coping mechanisms to help you manage lupus. So we have to be real with ourselves. There's no quick cure for lupus. Not at all.
We just wanted to say goodbye real quick. Betty, who's been participating. Guys, I have to go get my infusion of Sulfenlo for my lupus.
Yeah,
I will catch and rest later. So we send positivity and healing to you, Betty. Thank you for participating.
Betty's nice. She's a great supporter. So you have to make sure that you're doing your part to be well behind the chronic illnesses. So why we are being attacked so much by these illnesses, I don't know. Will they ever figure it out? Probably not. They probably won't, because Black and brown people are not the people that they're studying. And you have to remember that when you go into the doctor, that he might not understand your issues, and you might have to educate him and be the doctor for a moment.
And ask him what procedures or what is
your differential diagnosis
that you've used to rule out what I'm thinking. That right there will listen.
And that's with anything. That's not with somebody with lupus. You have to be an advocate for yourself. You have to make sure that you are speaking their language. And if you have to sit down and read through everything, then go ahead and do that.
So, Miss Raquel, aka Roxy, Miss Warrior, I love the butterfly wearing, and I see the purple, and I get the symbol. But you better go ahead with the branding, sis. I see it, and it's so interesting because, as I mentioned before, we have a sister that's coming in tomorrow, and I think her Facebook name is something to do with butterflies. And she was actually today in listening to you. So if you two have not connected, I hope you will connect. And tomorrow night, guys, we're going to continue the conversation at 7 p.m. For Lupus Awareness Month. And we're speaking with Asiria Daniels, who is a public health strategist and health equity enthusiast.
And look, that health equity is important. I won't be able to join you guys because I'll be on my own live, but I will definitely tune back in. But that health equity is important. And I know she will teach you a lot about what you need to do to be equitable as you deal with your chronic illness.
Miss Roxy, you about to be Auntie Roxy up in here.
That's all right. That's all right. I'm older than you think, so that's okay.
Anissa said, nobody, me. What is the additional work you've done to rule out this diagnosis? Listen, the folks are leaving up. She said, I'm using this in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Somebody tell you, oh, no, I can't do that. Well, what have you done? What's your differential diagnosis with that? Absolutely. I use everything.
What is, and we could have you, what is your differential assessment to come up with that you come to that outcome? Oh, Miss Roxy, I've enjoyed this thing today. This was good. Miss Teresa, is there a donate button on your website?
There is a donate button on our website. You can go to lupusincolor.com and you have to peruse through the site, and there is a donate button. We do take donations. I have to say this: we are not 501c3, and I'll tell you why. Because we do not want people. I don't want people to take this and make it something that it's not. I would rather hit one person and change their lives than hit 1,000 people that just do things to be seen. Lupus in Color is a very small organization that works to help people cope daily with lupus. We are not in the business of getting huge donations. And if we do get donations, we put that right back into the lupus community with programming and helping them with their medications and their copays. So I wanted to put that out there.
I'll say this. Pray and rethink that. Only because your foundation is solid. Only reason why I'm saying this, I'm in a fight right now, and my team is pulling me up in a meeting on Friday, and they're like, Jimmy, yes, you're of the media piece is for profit, but a lot of your work is nonprofit-ish. And I get the point. You don't want to fall into the regular conundrum of the non-cis with all, I get it more than you. And so, but
I have other nonprofits that I have.
You got a conduit. As long as you got a conduit, then we good.
Yeah. I've got nonprofits that can help and that have helped, and that's good for me for now.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. You got to do what works for you. I know that's right. But don't totally, because there is a different element that just the way, unfortunately, right now the system is set up, people are more than like, because you get that unrestricted. Listen, I'm like, what's the dude? Robin Hood. Listen, get the grants and whatnot, and do what you got to do the way you want to do it. Don't, and you prove that you ain't gonna sell yourself out to conform to some grant funding, or their priority. If it don't work with you, then bye. Yeah, oh, Jesus, you gotta get me in trouble, because there's certain statements that have to be followed up by a certain statement to make it good. But I'm gonna get you off my screen before I get you in trouble. But listen, folks,
I'm not in trouble. I'm good.
Good trouble. Listen, you all need to go flood the website, go look at it. I believe that there is a book on here. What is that a flyer? Oh, there's a book.
I have written a book, yes. And it's for Lupus Warriors.
And so you just can't March. Okay, there's March 24, Butterflies of Hope. Where's the book on the website?
It's under the store. So you'll find it under the store if you go to lupusincolor.com, and there's a store on there. Let me try and find it.
Is it under the links?
Yes, under the links.
Business directory, lupus videos, photos, events, support, blog, about, welcome. Well, y'all go to the website.
I know. I'm sorry. I should have came more prepared.
You're good, because you know how you get your website report. You get the amount of clicks that people click. I'll go to the website, click, and find out. But no, there's a lot of information on here. And as it's Lupus Awareness Month, please today, share this live and give your thoughts about what you heard today. Share your thoughts and how Raquel, aka Auntie Roxy, has blessed you being a lupus this was really good. This is one of my top ranking episodes because of the information, how you delivered it, and whatnot, and then the testimony around 2001 as well. We still haven't fully delved into the impact of that, but that's why you're here.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly why I'm here.
This was good. We're gonna let you go. I'm gonna go ahead and pay a couple of bills. Shout out to everyone on Instagram. Please, those of you that are over on Instagram, go ahead. Are you on Instagram?
I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I'm on
and is it Lupus in Color?
All at Lupus in Color. Yep. Okay.
So Lupus in Color on Instagram, as it is with the website as well. And so Auntie Roxy, thank you. Please connect me with that brother. So you can chat with him as well. And then yesterday I had have you heard of Black Health Connect?
Yes, I have.
I was on a Zoom with them yesterday.
Okay.
We need to now. And I also told them in that email with the connection with the brother, just nudge me. And Anissa is on. I want to connect you with them, because I think that would be awesome. They move around the country in a social health equity space.
Oh, awesome.
An ability to speak and because 60% of our women out of 5 million, oh God, the math, 5 million people you said across the world are diagnosed.
60%
of Black women, and then 10% of the people diagnosed are men
and children. because lupus doesn't just affect adults.
It affects you. And I did hear that there are PD cases
Yeah,
of,
there are people that have been diagnosed with lupus since they were a child, and they're still here today to tell a story.
like you from the 7-month preemie to. All right, I feel my shoulders going up. I'm gonna get you off my screen. And thank you so much. Strength your way. We pray for uncommon favor. Hopefully, somebody on here done seen and the real blessing is hopefully somebody that may be dealing with symptoms. I just want to recap that before we go. If you're having symptoms, things that Auntie Roxy talked about today, start keeping a journal. Even in the beginning, if you have to go back and say, okay, I'm starting the journal today, but for the past 3 years, I don't remember the dates, but this is what I've been dealing with. And then you start what you're eating. And if you ate something, if it caused certain pain or a certain reaction, write that down. In the process, also make an appointment with your doctor and plan to bring that journal with you. And if you get to the doctor, and this is not just with lupus, if you get to the doctor and you are convinced that you're dealing with something and they haven't ruled out and they got you in and out in 15 minutes, this is what you say. Excuse me, ma'am or sir, what is the differential diagnosis that you've used to rule out lupus, that you've used to rule out breast cancer, that you've used to rule out, I don't know, right knee inflammation?
Right.
I told you there's certain statements that got to be sorry. So I'm seeing you get me in trouble. My mother on here. So, no, Auntie Roxy, thank you. I really this was one of our most powerful in 4 years. This was one of our most powerful spaces. And so please remind me to sorry. Alexa, cancel. Sorry. That's this little thing over here that means that we've been on for a minute.
Right.
I need to get ready to get off of here down to an 11 I forgot about. Thank God for Alexa.
Right.
Auntie Roxy, thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Yes, ma'am. And this stays up. So tell your folks that are in, it stays up all over the internet and they need to go and watch.
I definitely will. And I'll keep in touch with you and I'll let you
Please do. Please do, because one of these days so I do a health fair here once a year, and with being on Johnson & Johnson and Bear's radar, we're gonna figure some things out.
Absolutely. I've worked with them as well, so absolutely.
So if we have to fly you in one,
hey,
virtual is good.
I'm here. Okay. I'm here whenever you need me.
We need to get you here. Okay, Auntie Roxy, thank you, because we'll go another 20 minutes. Thank you so much for being here, and Godspeed and uncommon favor in healing your way.
Thank you so much.
And we look forward to talking with you again.
Awesome. Thank you so much
for being with us.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Absolutely. It ain't often. Nikki Allen, thank you for listening over on Instagram. Beantown Benny, good to see you in the room. Josue, what's up, brother? Good to see you in the room. BMC Boston, good to see you all in the room. This was definitely a powerful session this morning. We will be back, still talking in the space of health. Tomorrow morning, we're speaking with Pops Davis, who was in the room with us today. He's coming in to share his testimony from the theme, A Stroke of Genius. So he'll be with us tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. And then tomorrow evening, we're continuing the conversation for Lupus Awareness Month and talking with Assyria Daniels. And so please be sure to plan to come back tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. and then tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. Do not forget, go flood this woman's website, click through and support her. Check out the information, buy the book, and support that good sister, Raquel Dozier, I believe is the last name, Auntie Roxy now to me. So I'm getting off of here. UCB, it's 10:02. Who is Earl? Thank you for the symptoms, Miss T. Joint pain, fatigue, butterfly-like rash on the face. If you have those symptoms, start journaling. Vaughn, good to see you in the room. Ma, love you. Good to see you in the room as always. Shout out to the folks that are over on YouTube today. All right, folks are participating. Y'all be careful clicking some of these clicks. Some guy sneaked in here and talk about try doctor, Don't click that link. We're going to figure out a way how to delete that off of here. All right, I'm off of here, everyone. No commercials today. We needed to keep the subject going. We'll close out with one quick commercial. We'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day, everybody. I appreciate all of you that are here with us. And we'll see you tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a great day, y'all. And we'll talk to you soon.